You know that feeling when your brain decides to replay your most embarrassing moment at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday? Like that time you said, "you too," when the waiter said, "enjoy your meal," and you're still thinking about it 5 years later? Well, I'm about to tell you a ghost story that's going to make that loop in your head look like amateur hour. Her name is Okiku. She's been dead for 400 years, and she's still counting to 9 every single night. And before you click away thinking this is just another spooky campfire story, let me stop you right there. Because this ghost, she's actually a 400-year-old case study in OCD, a political conspiracy theory, and a prophecy about your phone addiction, all wrapped up in one of the most famous hauntings in Japanese history. So yeah, buckle up. By the end of this, you're gonna see this ghost in your notifications, your doom scrolling, and every repetitive thought you can't escape. Our story begins in feudal Japan, in one of those estates where every shadow looks like it's plotting against you. Working there was a young servant named Okiku, and her job was guarding 10 priceless porcelain plates worth more than the entire estate. These weren't just fancy dishes, they were legendary heirlooms, each one worth more than a luxury car today. Her samurai master was obsessed with these plates the way people get obsessed with their credit scores or their follower counts. His entire identity was wrapped up in owning these things. They were his status symbol, his flex, everything he valued in the world. So Okiku spent every day counting them, polishing them, protecting them, knowing that one mistake could cost her everything. And then one day, because the universe has a dark sense of humor, plate number 10 slipped from her hands. It shattered, and in that moment, watching porcelain scatter across the floor, she knew her life was over. Now here's where different versions of the story split, because ghost stories get messy over 400 years. Some say her master's steward had been harassing her for months, and when she rejected him, he hid the plate to frame her. Others say it was a genuine accident. But every version ends the same way. Her standing over broken ceramic, waiting for death. Her samurai master appeared, and his face wasn't angry. It was cold, like he was calculating the value of a broken appliance. In his mind, the math was simple. A servant's life was worth less than a piece of art. The equation balanced perfectly. So he dragged her to the old well behind the estate, that stone pit that looked like a direct portal to hell. And he threw her in. Some say she was already dead. Others say she drowned in the darkness. Either way, she died in that well. Now, this is where the actual haunting begins. And trust me, it's not your typical vengeful ghost situation. That very night, as darkness fell, people heard something crawling up from the well. A voice, thin, ghostly, counting. Ichi, ni, san. 1, 2, 3. The voice counted slowly in Japanese, each number echoing like a prayer to the darkness. Go, roku. 4, 5, 6. The counting continued, methodical and haunting, like she was still performing her duties in death. Shichi, hachi, kyu. 7, 8, 9. And then, nothing. A terrible, suffocating silence, and then she screamed. Not a movie scream, a real scream. The sound of a soul being ripped apart by its own failure, because she couldn't find the 10th plate. It was gone, broken, and her spirit was trapped, forever searching for what was lost. Night after night, for 400 years, the counting continues. 1 through 9. The scream. Silence. Then it starts again. Now here's where it gets psychologically fascinating, because Okiku isn't acting like a typical vengeful spirit. Most ghosts in folklore want revenge. They want justice. They want to drag their killers to hell. But Okiku, she's still just trying to do her job. She's not haunting her master. She's haunting herself. She's trapped in a compulsive loop, unable to move on from her failure. This is a textbook description of obsessive-compulsive disorder from the 1600s, before anyone knew what OCD even was. That endless counting isn't supernatural revenge. It's a compulsion. Her brain, even in death, desperately trying to fix an unfixable mistake. And that scream of agony? That's not sadness about a plate. That's the pure psychological torture of being trapped in a pattern you can't escape. It's checking if you locked the door 5 times even though you know you did. It's refreshing your email at midnight for no reason. It's replaying that conversation from 3 years ago, trying to figure out what you should have said. That's Okiku's curse. Her ghost is literally a manifestation of intrusive thoughts and compulsive behavior, haunting a well because her mind won't let her rest. But if we zoom out further, the story is also a brutal takedown of an entire social system. In feudal Japan, imported ceramic art was legally, officially worth more than a human life. That's not supernatural horror. That's documented fact. The real curse isn't the ghost. It's the society that valued objects over people. That's the true horror she's exposing every night. Her endless counting is a protest that never stops. A voice that refused to be silenced, even 400 years later. And honestly, when you think about billionaires building vanity rockets while people can't afford healthcare, has anything really changed? Turns out the rich valuing their toys over human beings isn't ancient history. It's just the same story with better marketing. Now, here's where this ghost story takes a hard turn into political thriller territory. Because what if everything we've been told is a cover-up? Some historians believe there was a real Okiku, and they found records of a servant who died suspiciously near Himeji in the 1600s. One theory says she wasn't clumsy at all. She was a spy who discovered her master was plotting to overthrow the shogun. The 10 priceless plates? They weren't plates. They were code for the 10 conspirators planning a coup against the government. She didn't break a plate. She broke open their entire conspiracy. And when she tried to expose them, they had to silence her permanently. They threw her down the well and created the clumsy servant story as a cover-up, making her look incompetent instead of heroic. So when you hear her ghost counting from the well, maybe she's not counting plates at all. Maybe she's trying to name the traitors. 1, 2, 3. Each number a conspirator she remembered. Each count an attempt to expose the plot from beyond the grave. But she can never remember the 10th name. The final traitor. The one who actually murdered her. Lost forever when she drowned. So her ghost is trapped in an eternal loop, trying to deliver the intelligence she died protecting. Screaming in frustration every night. Whether you believe the plate story or the spy theory, the haunting is real. At Himeji Castle, you can visit the actual well today. It's covered now, protected behind barriers, but locals still leave offerings there. Flowers, incense, and yes, small plates. Tourists report hearing faint counting echoing from the well. Guards have documented it. Some have even recorded audio they can't explain. And here's where this 400-year-old ghost story becomes a mirror for your life right now. Because we're all living inside Okiku's curse. We've just rebranded it with friendly names and invited it to live in our pockets. We call it social media. We call it the algorithm. Okiku's well was deep, dark, and isolating. Ours is that glowing screen you're probably staring at right this second. Her obsessive counting from 1 to 9. That's you scrolling through Instagram at 2 a.m. looking for your 10th plate. That one post that'll finally make you feel complete. That perfect validation. That thing that'll make all the scrolling worth it. But you never find it. You can't. Because the system is engineered to keep you searching forever, just like her curse. The algorithm is designed to keep you counting. You never get your 10th plate. That's how they monetize your attention. And the modern, vengeful spirit? That's us. That's the viral outrage mob. The cancel culture that haunts people for one mistake. Someone breaks their metaphorical plate, one bad tweet, one joke that aged poorly, one screenshot taken out of context. And suddenly, a million of us become ghosts, rising from our digital wells, screaming at them, haunting them forever. We grab our pitchforks and become the very curse we fear. We become Okiku, but weaponized, viral, and impossible to escape. Here's the thing that makes Okiku's story so powerful. It works on every level you look at it. It's a genuine ghost story with a real haunted location you can visit. It's a psychological case study of obsessive behavior. It's a social critique of systems that value things over people. It's a conspiracy theory about political assassination. And it's a warning about the loops we trap ourselves in, both in feudal Japan and in your Twitter feed at midnight. The servant who was thrown away like trash became more famous than the samurai who killed her. Her voice outlasted his entire legacy. She's been counting for 400 years, and people are still listening. That's not a curse. That's immortality through protest. So here's my question for you, and I want you to actually think about this before you scroll to the next video. What's your 10th plate? What's that thing you're endlessly searching for online that, deep down you'll never actually find? Is it validation from strangers? Is it the perfect life you see in everyone's curated feeds? Is it just silence from your own anxious brain? What's the compulsive loop you're trapped in? The thing you keep counting, keep checking, keep refreshing, hoping this time will be different? And if your ghost had to haunt somewhere for eternity, what would it be counting? What's your unfinished business? Drop your thoughts below. Some of you have the most brilliantly unhinged takes, and honestly, I live for those 3 a.m. philosophical comments. And if this story made you look at both ghost stories and your phone differently, hit that like button. Subscribe for more tales where I take folklore, history, and psychology, throw them in a blender, and see what cursed smoothie comes out. Because if there's one thing Okiku taught us, it's that the most persistent ghosts aren't the ones in ancient wells. They're the ones we code into our daily lives, the patterns we can't break, the loops we willingly walk into, counting forever.